we trying to live like there's no consequences. They tell us how to live right. We get all defensive. That's not the way that life works. Sorry to bust your bubble.
Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to Real Talk with Helen. I am your host, Helen. And just like live TV happens, I don't have my notes ready, of course. And welcome everybody watching me live on Facebook as well. Today we have a really good topic. I am so blessed to be here today. So we're going to talk about a few different things, but one of the main things, and I kind of posted this online as well, but we're going to talk about what is a good age to start leaving your children home alone. And I know everybody has their beliefs about this, and they have their opinion. I'll share mine, within the story, but I don't know really what a good age. I guess my answer to that question would be it depends on your child. You have children that are more mature than other children. You have children that have more book knowledge, and they don't I wouldn't base it on how good your child is in school, because book knowledge and book sense has nothing to do with common sense. So they might be a perfect student in school, a straight A student. That does not mean that they're ready to stay home alone. So that's one of the things that we're going to talk about today. There's a lot going on in the world. Feel free to call. You can always call us here live on TV 33, Comcast 91 at 313-868-0342. Those of you that are on Facebook Live, you can also call in as well. I will try. I have the phone, I have the camera, I have Facebook Live, I have my laptop, so I got a lot of things I'm looking on. So I'll try to correspond if you call in. We encourage you to. Now, based on, there's a couple of states, I think it's 3 states, I think Maryland might be one of them, I'm not sure, that they have laws on keeping your child home alone. We are not one of those states. So it is based on the maturity of your child. Now, here's what they say. If your child is 7 and under, you should not leave them at home alone for any period of time, okay? You need to leave them with a caretaker or someone that can watch them in your absence. So if your child is 7 and under, do not leave them home alone. Okay, they say 8 to 10. You should not be left alone for more than an hour and a half. So, and I would say that still depends on the maturity level. But 8 to 10 years old, say, I guess if you're running to the store, if you're, outside planting flowers and, or something like that. But I would not, I don't think, 8 to 10, I wouldn't do it at all, to be honest. But, that's what the standard for children and safety of children, what they say. Now, 11 to 12, get this, because that's my son age, right? He's right in the middle. He's 11 and a half. So they may be left alone for up to 3 hours, but not late at night or in circumstances requiring inappropriate responsibilities like bathing and things like that. You really don't want a child to have to do that unattended. So, that, make sure you keep that in mind. I would say, for my son, I have been trying, 30-minute increments. So me and my husband will leave him home alone, like if we're going to the grocery store. We know it's across the street. We can kind of keep an eye just to see where he has to go. By no means is he able to operate, run any water. We got bottled water for him. He's not able to run any water. He's not able to deal with microwave or anything like that during that time. Okay, so they say from age 13 to 15, and then again, this is dependent on your child's maturity level, but 13 to 15, they may be left unsupervised, but not overnight. Still, you don't want to leave kids overnight alone. I wasn't left overnight alone, I don't think, until I went to college. I spent the night over a friend's house, but we were always supervised by an adult. So I don't remember, staying overnight really at all. I mean, my parents were kind of old-fashioned, so they were always home. So, but, that's just a rule of thumb. Hey Yvonne, how you doing? It's good to see you. Okay, so it says 16 to 17 may be left unsupervised in some cases for up to 2 consecutive overnight periods. So if you do have teenagers, say you want to go on a weekend trip, you can leave them overnight, but I would still say it depends on the maturity level for them as well. Okay, so how do you know if your child's ready to stay home alone? So this is one side, what we feel. The other side of the equation is your child. So you need to make sure that they're ready too. So it says it is important to note that no two children are alike, and parents must decide on a case by case basis. Pretty much what I said, what is best for their child. Therefore, in addition to the general guidelines, so these general guidelines that I have given you listed, a parent or caregiver or caretaker should consider the following before leaving a child home alone. So these are the things that you want to consider before you leave your child home alone. The first thing, like I said, is the age and maturity level of the child. So my parents know that. My mom, she knew my maturity level over my brothers and sisters, and I was the last child she had. So, of course, my maturity level probably was not as high as my sisters and brothers. So it depends. The length of time the child will need to stay home alone. Now, what I started with, my son usually gets home about 3:45. And sometimes I would get home about 4:15. So that was about a 30-minute window. So when he got off the bus, I have a list of things that he was to do, let down the garage, things like that, let the dogs out, feed them. So, depending on your responsibility, I would give a child responsibilities that have nothing to do with any kind of electronics, not plugging anything up, not heating up anything, nothing of that. He would just eat, I'd leave snacks out for him just to eat before dinner. So, things like that. Whether the child works well independently or follows directions. So that really depends on whether you should leave your child home alone. If they follow directions when you're at home, if you tell them to do something, you do it. I'd say my son is probably like a 75%er when it comes to following directions. 75% of the time he does. So, you do have that 25% where he's playing his video games and he heard nothing I asked him to do. So I have to reiterate that. But pretty much if I have his undivided attention, so, Okay, so the next thing is the age and number of the other children being left alone. So I would say if you have a 13-year-old, you shouldn't leave them with like a 8-year-old, a 3-month-old baby, and a 9-year-old and a 10-year. If you got a lot of kids, don't leave a teenager to supervise those children, especially if they're new to being left alone themselves. So, that would depend on you as a parent, but I wouldn't leave my babies or young children with a teenager. So, that would depend on how long you're left alone too. Now, if you got a 15-year-old and you got an 11-year-old and a 12-year-old, that's a little different. Then maybe you might consider leaving them, home alone for a period of time, going to the grocery store, or going to get your nails done or something quick like that. That might be something. Start small though. Okay, the safety of the surrounding neighborhood. So that depends too. Unfortunately, if you live in a bad neighborhood, and some people it's out of their control, they don't have the means to live in a safer area. I get it. That should determine too if you leave your children home alone. If you know that there's been, people that are on a lot of people on the sex offenders list, and yes, that is a big issue. Check the sex offenders list. It's a registry. They have to register, and you can put in your zip code where you live and figure out all of the sex offenders. They even show pictures, guys, so make sure that you check in the sex offenders list in your neighborhood. You know where all of those individuals live. And, I know that in my area, I was very surprised. I think we have like 3 people on the sex offenders list in my area. I know exactly where they live. So, you just want to just be aware of your surroundings and make sure you check that sex offenders list so that you know what these individuals look like. If you see them in your area, just be careful. Everyone deserves a second chance and a right to live, but you want to know who are around your children and in your neighborhood. Okay, willingness of neighbors to check in on your children. So it's good. I know that a lot of people, like when I was coming up, my grandma used to always say familiarity breeds contempt. So you don't want to get too familiar with your neighbors, but in actuality, it's nice to have someone. Like I have some really good neighbors. Miss Eva, she's really sweet, and Yvonne, my sweet neighbor who's watching me now. That I can call if I'm, stepping out for a minute and say, keep an eye on my child. So that's good to have that. Whether the child would feel safe staying home alone. So you need to talk with your kids and have a conversation. Say, look, we want to try this. Just know that we're not far. You can call, Miss Yvonne. You can call Miss Eva. We have all of these contacts just in case it's an emergency. But tell your child, because we train our child to call us. But if it is an extreme emergency, they need to vacate the home. If there is a fire or something like that, in the event that it's something like that, forget all of that. You call the police, and we'll handle it accordingly. So you need to let your child not have fear to call the police, but know when it's necessary. So they got a couple of safety tips. For leaving your child home alone. It says, finally, if leaving your child home alone is necessary, at least where older children are involved, you can follow the following guidelines. So hopefully, I would say a safe age for me is like 11 to 15, depending on the maturity level of the child, and that depends on your child specifically. Hey, Shauna. Okay, so I'm glad to see all my people on Facebook. Hey, Sharice, I'm glad to see everybody looking in, and this is a good topic. So if you don't have young children, if you know someone with young children, please pass this information around, because we don't want anything happening to our little ones. They are our future, so make sure that we use these tips. So you got to have the child memorize these things. So they need to know their full name. And believe it or not, you'd be surprised. Like my son never really writes his middle name. So he really didn't know, his middle name that much. So I had to reiterate that to him, like, okay, this is your middle name. You need to know that. So you make sure your child memorizes their whole name, and they know how to spell it. They know how to write it down. They need to memorize their address and their phone number if they have a phone, and they need to memorize their parents' number. So thank God I got kind of an easy phone number. It makes it easier for my son. But before he even remembered my number, he remembered his Nana's number. So that's a good thing. So make sure that your child is equipped with all that information. Okay, post a list of emergency, local, and long distance numbers to call in the event of emergency. So I have a sheet on my wall in the garage. I also have this posted in my kitchen on the cork board. I have all his aunts, uncles, our neighbor Yvonne. Hey Yvonne, shout out to you. I have everyone's number just in case I for some reason can't be reached, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes with cell phones, you don't have service, whatever the case may be. He needs alternatives. So don't just rely on you. You do need your extended family and your safety net of people to help you with your child. So make sure you have that posted where your child can see. Okay, inform immediate neighbors that your child may be home alone on some days. If there's, say like for instance, I go to the gym, a couple of days a week, and I'm gone for about 45 minutes. If my husband's on his way home, I 10 minutes, I'll say, okay, well, dad's on his way home, so I'll leave out. So that's something, that 10 minutes is a long time to a child. So you make sure that they have, the appropriate numbers and things to call. But make everybody aware that they'll be home alone. Call the child several times during the day while you're away. So this is important. So I would not leave my child home alone if there's no phone. If you don't have a landline phone, you should have a cell phone or something that you can leave your child with. Make sure that phone is charged before you leave. one of the things that I make sure is that his phone is charged. Children are not as responsible as adults, of course, so you have to make sure that their phone is charged and everything, or whatever source of contact, the phone is on the hook or whatever the case may be before you leave. And make sure you let them know, do not talk on that phone or anything. You don't want anything to manipulate that where, it will be busy or something like that. Teach the child how to work the locks and windows and doors, and lock them when at home. So in the event, I tell my son, do not answer the door by no means. Unless we're not expecting anyone. All of our family is aware that you will be here for, an hour or whatever the time may be. So do not answer the door. If it's a package, they'll leave it or they'll leave a sticker. I don't want anyone to know that my child is home alone. So, that's just something that you need to tell your child. Tell the child not to go into other people's home, even the neighbors, without your permission. So, let's say their friend come over, they see it's their friend, and they're like, can we go out to play? No, I have not been informed of that. And you don't want them to think, you come home, and that's devastating when your child is not there. So, no going over to their friend's house playing outside unless you give them permission. They're already doing it. When you leave, okay, I'm going to go to the grocery store, fine, So I would have it says, designate a safe house to run to if the child ever feels that there is he or she is in danger. So make sure you have somewhere where that they can go. Never allow a child to work the oven or stove without a parent or adult caretaker. So that is very important. I make sure he has eaten before I leave. There is some snacks, on the counter that he can just grab, water and things like that. So, it's important that you have that. And if you have a nanny cams are kind of reasonable now. You can always try it out that way. Have your nanny cam on. You can look at it through your phone to see exactly what your child is doing, things like that. I'm not gone for a long period of time, so I tell my child no eating whatsoever while I'm gone. That's just my choice. I fear choke hazards, things like that when I'm not there. So if you're going to be gone for 45 minutes, they can hang in there for that period of time. So consider, programs offered by the school, organization, or church for extended periods of home alone time. So I know my son goes to jiu-jitsu. He's also in football. He does boxing in the summer. So he has a lot of activities that he does. So I try to, do the things that I have to do during those times. Like at boxing, he's usually there for about 3 or 4 hours. So that gives me a long window where I can plan my things. So I plan my things according to his schedule. So, I can get my nails done. It's not too far from there. So I can do that. And the summer is really cool because he does boxing like 4 to 5 days a week. And it's like for 4 to 5 hours sometimes. So I get a long time during the day to, I have time to do things for myself. So those are just some things, to think about because we have to let our children grow and mature. And I know we fear that sometimes, but we got to let them go. You got to let them, mature because we were allowed that opportunity. That's why we're adults now. And, you got to make sure that they know how to do things. And, the cooking thing, it's different now with children. I remember I was cooking at 9 years old, probably even younger than that. But now I just don't know. The maturity level seems to be different, with the children. And that's okay. Because we can go at our own pace, but it's important that you know your child. If it's a time you want to introduce them to cooking, because I watch those Hell's Kitchen, the children's version, and those chefs are amazing. Those kids are like 7, and I'm like, wow, how do you even know you can cook at 7? I wasn't even allowed to touch the stove, but I guess in order for you to know your child's strengths or know their gifts, you got to try stuff and, see what they like, And that's what I tell my son all the time because he's a picky eater. And sometimes nowadays we kind of use that as a crutch. And what I don't do is I don't say that. I don't like to say that he's a picky eater because one thing you will do in my house is you will try it. So you can say that you don't like something, but the only way you absolutely know for sure is if you try it. So I don't want one of those children that they haven't tried anything. No, I don't want it. Okay, well, if you don't like Brussels sprouts, the only way you know is if you try them. So, and I try to be open to try different things because we as parents, if we don't let our children know that it's okay to try different things, then they won't be receptive to try them as well. So that's definitely a lot of tips that you guys can use. I'm going to reiterate a lot of those things that they said. So age under 7, you should not be leaving your child home alone at all, under any circumstances. 8 to 10 should not be left alone for more than an hour and a half. And I think that's a little, this is the general guidelines for our country, but I'd say, and check with your state. We're in Michigan. We don't really have any set laws for this. It's just based on the parent and the level of maturity of the child. But an hour and a half, 8 to 10, that would be dependent. To me, in my experience, girls mature faster than boys. I definitely wouldn't leave my daughter home alone at 8, but that's what they say. Okay, 11 to 12 may be left at home alone for up to 3 hours, but during the daylight time of the day, not late at night when it's inappropriate responsibilities, meaning bathing and things like that. You definitely, and at that, I think 11 to 12, they should be doing that kind of stuff on their own, I would think. Also, 13 to 15 may be left unsupervised, but not overnight. I wouldn't advise anyone to leave teenagers overnight. So we've seen too many movies and house parties and things when they're young like that, of what can happen. Okay, 16 to 17 may be left unsupervised in some cases, but up to 2 consecutive overnight periods. So, if you're going on a little road trip, if your child is at that maturity level, I was never left home alone. But then again, I went to college really young, so I stayed on the dorm, so I, kind of was forced to have to do that. So once again, it's the maturity level of your child to determine if they should be left home alone. The length of time that they'll need to be home alone, you need to figure out if that's appropriate or not. And you can kind of use those guidelines I gave you to make sure. Hey, Anitra, how you doing? Hey, Andrew. So it's good to see you guys. For all of you guys watching, we are live on Comcast 90. If you can see the screen, I'm going to show you. That is me. So you see the beautiful backdrop that you can't see. When I turn it this way, of course, you see the green screen because it's, it's live and the magic of live TV. And I wore a green sweater today. I thought it was going to clash with the backdrop because they tell you not to wear green, for the green screen. But this is kind of like a dark green, so it blended in. Okay, a couple of things. I want to thank my sponsor, Attorneys R Us, who's here every week at 1 p.m. where they talk about what to do in the event that you are in an auto accident. They have some great tips. There's a lot of perks and benefits if you live in the state of Michigan, where you can get unlimited health benefits if in the event that you're in an auto accident for life. So stay tuned for that, and they'll have more on what to do in the event of if you're in an auto accident. Also, my mom, Helen Briggs, is having a grand opening. She has followed her dream in her golden years. Bless her heart. I'm so happy. On her birthday is Saturday, April 7th. And God has blessed her with the opportunity to open her own bakery. This is a lifelong dream of hers. I am so proud of my mother. And so the grand opening is this Saturday. It's 11,000 East Jefferson, where Cannon Clothing is. And it is from the hours of 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. So you have all day, 10 hours within the day to go up there. I'm sure she'll have a lot of things for you to taste, and it's just going to be a blessing. Everything she does is definitely for the glory of God. So I am so glad and proud of my mother. So try to get there. If you have any questions, please, you can call me 248-805-2000. Her grand opening again is this Saturday between the hours of 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. That's 11,000 East Jefferson. So try to stop by there Saturday if you're able to. If you're in Detroit, the Detroit area, we would love to have you. I will probably be there all day, I'm sure, helping her out. Always, Real Talk with Helen, we are live every Thursday at 12:30 to 1 on TV 33, Comcast 91, where we talk to you about real issues, things that are going on, things that can help you. We give you good information to help you with your everyday life. If you need to contact me, you guys always contact me via email, or you call sometimes. You can reach me at realtalkwithhelen@outlook.com. And let me know any questions, any topics that you'd like to have on the show. I always get a lot of people that want me to talk about different things, so that is definitely a blessing. Also, Quality Professional Consulting, which is my company. We do toxicology. I do human resources, so I help the medical industry provide them with providers, medical assistants, phlebotomists, anything you can think of in the medical field. Right now, currently, we have openings for a general pediatrician for a Detroit practice near Henry Ford Hospital. They're looking for a pediatrician, either full-time or part-time. They have a big load of pediatric patients that they need served in that area. So if you are a pediatrician, you're watching, please make sure that you, or if you know a pediatrician, please make sure that you call me at 248-805-2000, or you send your resume to realtalkwithhelen@outlook.com. Also, we are in need of medical assistants and phlebotomists always for the lab. I work with Great Lakes Medical Lab, and they're a great lab, full reference lab that does blood and tox. They do diagnostic testing, urine culture and sensitivity testing, things like that. So they're always, in need of those positions, phlebotomists and medical assistants. So if you know anyone that is looking, as I said, you can send your resume. Again, don't forget Helen's Heavenly Delight. That is Saturday, April 7th. It will be there at 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. She'll have all of the goodies, taste tests for you guys. She has been baking overtime, so I'm sure she has her famous sweet potato pies and cheesecake and red velvet cake, chocolate cake, all cupcakes, everything you could think of. I don't even want to think about it because I think I'm gaining weight just thinking about it. But as always, it is a blessing to be here. We will see you next week at 12:30 p.m. every Thursday with Real Talk with Helen. Thank you for watching and have a blessed day.
Why we trying to live like there's no consequences. They tell us how to live right. We get all defensive.